Hello. Well, I built this mock-up jig for my gas pedal assembly. So this is representing the underneath my dash. This is the dash, and this is inside under the dash. So here's the parts that I'm going to use for my brake pedal, an old antique sewing machine foot pedal, and then the arms off of the hydraulic door closers. A bearing, just a bearing block. The shaft that will go into the bearing block. Shaft collar. And then another portion of a door closer, which is a part that will attach to the door frame. So I've got two of them here. And then this is just another foot pad. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it, but I brought it with me just to make sure. So this is just two bolted together. So what I'm going to try to put together is using this shaft, which will slide through here. And then I'll put the bearing block on there. And this will go through the shaft here, slips over it. So this will be on the inside. And in this type of setup, I want to be able to use that portion of the foot pedal to slip into there, and it's probably going to be bolted down securely once I figure out the position of the pedal where I would like it to sit. So as I've been looking at this, I'm realizing that I'm going to have to cut this in some pieces, maybe add a little bit of an angle to it, possibly shorten it. And I've got the second one here that will probably be up towards the top of the firewall. I'll just raise it up to be pointed at a certain point, right? And then when the gas pedal's pushed, then that will pull my throttle cable. So I'm not sure if I'm going to leave this portion on or if I'm just going to cut it down, and then I'll have this portion here that I can mill down to accept the end of the throttle cable. Not sure because I don't have the throttle cable yet, so it'll just depend on what that throttle cable looks like on how I'll end up hooking this part up. So that kind of, this is pretty much where the brake pedal is. I've taken some measurements, and this is part of the tunnel. And it's like, 9 inches from the floor at that degree. So I think it was like 22 and a half is what that turned out to be. So from the back of the firewall up to it, this runs longer, so that's really not important. I just need to be somewhere in this vicinity here with the pedal. At about 9 inches from the firewall into this portion here, I've got an angle bumps out a little bit. I don't have that in place. I'm gonna try to set up my pedal to where it's far enough forward that I don't run into it. But if I do run into it, it looks like I'm going to be able to modify it a bit by maybe cutting it, indenting it a bit, so if the pedal needs to go that far to get the throttle cable wide open. I did measure the linkage on my carburetors from all the way forward to all the way open, and it's about a 3.5 inch stroke. So that's what I'm going to try to get out of this pedal, is as I push it forward, this arm is going to be able to get at least 3.5. So those are just kind of some of the things that I've got to keep in mind when I'm building, which this right here, 162 customizing, he's actually doing a mock-up for his console. So when I was watching his videos, last couple of videos, I go, yeah, you know what, that's going to be helpful if I build some kind of a representation of what I've got here, instead of trying to do the old, well, that's good enough, that should be close enough, and then start drilling and tacking whatever I do. This way I can work out all the issues here before I go in there. And so what's going to hold? So I've got this is a representation of my steering column brace, and it's about 1.25 inches thick, and it runs at this angle here. So I've got the meat of it that's going through here that I'm going to use this 1/2 inch rod that's going to go through here. What I'd like to do is be able to use a shaft collar on it. And so once I drill a hole through it, I'll put the shaft collar on there and lock it down. Now what's going to hold it on this side? Easy now, cowboy. So what's going to happen on this side? There's nothing here. So that's where this comes into play. And where it has these feet that swivel. So what I'd like to try to do is take this, and this will be welded to my dash from the underneath side. And then this will weld to the firewall, which as you can see, we're like just a sister's kiss away from being money. But so what I'll be able to do is put my 1/2 inch hole through here, and then I'm thinking that I'll be able to use another 1/2 inch shaft collar that will lock on here. And with this bearing block, I'll be able to slide the bearing block on. I'll be able to weld this part to the steering block, or to the bearing block. And then this fella is going to have to be, you know, shaped down to where it's into about this type of situation. And then once I bore a hole through it, be able to weld it on there, then I'll, you know, so when you push the foot pedal right, bang, throttle cable. That's what I'm trying to build. And this steering block, which is kind of pretty cool, is that I can pull that bearing out. If you can see the ball bearings in there, and then I've got a couple of little sprags. I think that's the correct word for it, that I can push in there, and it locks the bearing into place. Which, once I do the welding, these ends are going to hold that bearing into place anyway, and it won't come out. So that's kind of an overview of how I want to put this together. Probably going to do this in multiple parts because the video is probably already long with me just flapping my gums. So I think I'm going to leave it at that. And what we'll do is I'll get you and we'll take a look-see inside so you can kind of get an idea what's happening with this jig. But I'll video the process of the couple of little brain cells that are hopping around inside to get this to work. So we'll go from there. Okay, well, you can see the steering column brace. And this is where I want to be able to put the bar through. In this type of a location here. So this will get a hole through it. This will slide through. The shaft collar will bolt onto the end of that. And then this side here will slide through that other part. And then this part here, as you can see, will be in this type of setup. And that's how we'll do it. Well, so that gave us an overview of what I want to accomplish. A question that I could answer is, how come I just don't buy a aftermarket gas pedal? Well, my seating arrangement is back away from the firewall, that I can't get access to the face of the firewall to actually mount an aftermarket pedal assembly there. Could I modify one? There's a really good chance I could, but I'd be $150 into a gas pedal that I've got to modify. I'm free 99 right now with all the stuff I have there. So I think I want to start with free 99 before I go into spending $150 for a aftermarket gas pedal. So that's my reasoning behind it. As I was saying, that the way that my tunnel is set up here, I'm just back away from the firewall, so I would have to add some metal to my firewall to place a gas pedal to that point. And then the ones that I've been looking at, a part that I'm dealing with too is my engine sets up higher than normal, so I've got a high-rise manifold, and so on top of the high-rise manifold is a carburetor. So now I'm dealing with the linkage. I want to try to have a direct gas pedal linkage setup to where I'm not going and bending it, so I can have less struggle with adding the pressure to the gas pedal. Those are just some of the things that I've kind of thought through. So stick with me. We'll see if we can make it work, and we'll go from there. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.